So, Daniel, the main reason why we wanted to bring you on is because you said recently that you feel like Dalvin Cook, Vikings running back, has a chance to be in the MVP conversation. And
good timing, huh?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Just when you think there's nothing to talk about in sports here, as one of our colleagues, Patrick Racy, says, the sports gods always deliver. And so only a small handful of non-quarterbacks since 2000 have won the MVP award. We saw it with Adrian Peterson here in 2012. So what is your stance on Dalvin Cook, assuming that he does play and can stay healthy? And what does it take generally in your mind for a non-quarterback to win the MVP award?
Well, you got to do something pretty special. I mean, I think you're talking about probably having to get 2,000 yards. But I just think when you look at Dalvin Cook, you look at some of the improvements on the offensive line, and you look at Gary Kubiak and that system. I mean, it is a perfect marriage if you can keep him healthy, and obviously if you avoid a holdout and everything that's come up since I said that. But I think he's poised to have a huge year where you could approach 2,000 yards and also go out there and catch some balls and do some things in that regard as well. But it is darn near impossible to win it as a non-quarterback. So you got to put some silly numbers up there, and that's, to me, I think you have to get to that 2,000 yard number, which is an enormous number. But I honestly think that he's capable with his skill set in this team, and if they can be a little bit better up front.
So with the news that came out this week, which was basically if Dalvin Cook in his camp doesn't have a new contract by the time training camp opens, he is threatening to hold out. What do you think, with his skill set, is a fair contract for a guy like Dalvin Cook in 2020, Daniel?
Well, I hate to say it because I'm just talking about how much I love him and how great he is, but you have no leverage. In the new CBA, there's just none. And we saw it at the running back position last year. I did the Charger games. I saw it with Melvin Gordon and how that played out. So you don't really have any leverage. If you hold out, you end up potentially foregoing an accrued season. So if you're going to do a deal early with a player, especially as a running back, you're going to get a nice jump up from where you were, but you're not going to get what you would consider fair market value because they don't have to.
Right.
Because they know you have to show up. Now, you can give them a nice raise. If you want to do a deal early, we'll give you a nice raise and we can, put you in that 10 million, that 9-10 million range, and you make a lot more money right now. But, in terms of getting up there, I think Le'Veon Bell's like a $15 million cap hit right now. Like I don't see any chance you would get anywhere near there.
Explain to me your theory, or give me your thoughts, Daniel Jeremiah, on how the players in this league continue to enter into CBAs that are just god-awful as far as I'm concerned.
Well, look, it's, you kind of look at the big revenue pie picture, and I think they got, I'm excited about some of the expanded roster things they're able to negotiate in this. But, when you get down to the ability to hold out, I mean, that was kind of a valuable weapon that you'd have on the player side, and that's been removed. So, obviously they have a lot of other issues that they need to lobby for. I'm not as well versed in those negotiations. I just know when you talk about the running backs specifically, when you have the track record of that position, and we just looked it up the other day, of the top 10 rushers in the league last year, do you know how many of them were on rookie contracts? 9.
Wow.
Whoa.
Do you know how there were two running backs? There were 2 running backs. 2 of the top 10 highest paid running backs in the NFL made the postseason last year. 2 of them. And you know what the great part about that is? It was 2 guys in Jerick McKinnon and Lamar Miller who both missed the entire season. So none, right?
It's amazing.
The second contract on the running back position has just not been a wise move for teams. And when you have no leverage at the position, I don't know how this goes any other way. I just don't see, you're just going to have to show up and play, or you're going to take a team-friendly deal. Those are your 2 options.
And that's the hardest part. I think we're trying to figure out here on behalf of the Vikings is, so Alex Madison is their backup running back, and Alex Madison's he's a good player. Like anything you look at,
like 4.6 a carry or whatever.
Yep, 4.5 a carry. If you want to go off of let's say Pro Football Focus or whatever casual fan scouting service, he's an average running back by a lot of metrics. And so, if you're the Vikings and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, if Dalvin Cook's going to cost, let's say 9, 10, maybe 13 million, depending on how negotiations go. Or you can have a guy who's more league average, and maybe not have a huge drop off, but you only pay him a couple $1 million. That's such a tough balance, because getting rid of Dalvin Cook doesn't make your football team better, but paying Dalvin Cook $12 million might make it harder for you to field a competitive football team.
It's opportunity cost, right? It's going to cost you some players at other positions that have just flat out proven to be more valuable, at that other position. So I'm in the spot with the running backs where I know there's some people that analytically driven will say you never take a running back in the first round. You never pay a running back. I split the difference, because I do believe in, if you're on the clock and there's not a position, a great player at a position, a premier position, which I would, talk about quarterback, edge rusher, corner, offensive tackle, right? If there aren't great players there and the running back is clearly the best player in the first round, you take him. You take him and you run him till the wheels fall off, as sad as that is, and then you move on. You don't re-sign him. So I'm okay with taking running backs in the first or second round, but there's no data to support trying to pay that guy huge money on a second contract. It just hasn't worked out well for anybody.
Hey, what are your thoughts on Gary Kubiak as an offensive schemer, as an offensive coordinator, a play caller, and his impact on Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins?
I think he's phenomenal. He's outstanding. And I know, when he was in Baltimore, I got a lot of buddies there, and they just raved about the job that he did when he was there. Obviously, his track record everywhere he's gone, they've been pretty prolific offensively. So I think his demeanor is a great match with Kirk. I think he's kind of got some quiet intensity to him. But I think, Kirk can be a little bit amped up, and I think Gary Kubiak can kind of be able to calm him down a little bit. I think it's a great marriage. I think he's an outstanding play caller. So I'm excited. It's hard. I'm a big fan of Kevin Stefanski. I think he's going to do a good job with Cleveland, but I think you can make a case. I mean, he was running somebody else's offense. I mean, this Gary Kubiak knows this thing inside and out. So this is going to be, it has a chance to be an upgrade there, which is hard to do when you lose a coordinator to a head coaching job.
Do you think that Kirk has another step? Because Kirk is definitely an effective, statistically good QB. So this is not to say he's not good. But do you think, as you watch him now, that there is a step for him to take, or is the Kirk Cousins that we've essentially seen in the 2 years here with the Vikings, is that him?
I think he's developed. I think he's he's got to be 30, 31 years old. I think and he's established himself as a really good quarterback. And I think that's who he is, and that's what he is. So, I don't think I would expect a really another level for him to get to. I think he's somebody that's a really good quarterback, but if you want to win a championship, you got to continue to surround him with great players. And, I just think that's where he is, which is not a bad place to be. I just don't know where there is for him to go from here. When you look at him, what he's done statistically, I think that's who he is, which is a really good quarterback.
Hey, last thing for you here, Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network analyst. How good are the Vikings? What is their upside in 2020 if a bunch of things go right for them?
Well, I'm anxious to see, just pass rush. If they can generate more pass rush, find more compliments to Neil Hunter. If they can do that, then I think they have the chance to be a Super Bowl caliber team. I really do. Because I just believe in the coaching staff they have. I think they've got a quarterback who's got the right pieces around him. I'm huge. I think Justin Jefferson's got a chance to have a big year. When they made the pick, I thought they upgraded. And Stephon Diggs has been a great player in this league. I think Justin Jefferson's got a chance to be a better player. So I think the sky's the limit there. But the only thing I worry about is just I want to see who's going to be able to complement Danielle Hunter as a rusher.
Yeah. Hey, great stuff, man. We appreciate the insights, and we appreciate all your analyst work on NFL Network, and also people can subscribe to the Move the Sticks podcast with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks too, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. You guys have a great day. Be safe.
All right, you too. That's Daniel Jeremiah. And how about those last little comments there? Huh?
I didn't know we had some purple Kool-Aid on the NFL Network. Wow, that's great. Well, and I'm fine with the purple Kool-Aid.
And he has no reason to be just like mainlining purple Kool-Aid. This is just objectively, he thinks the Vikings can be a Super Bowl contender. And did I hear that right? That Justin Jefferson can be better than Stephon Diggs.
That's what he said he thinks.
Wow.
Potentially.
And Stephon Diggs is arguably one of the 7 or 8 best wide receivers in the entire league.
And it wasn't just him saying, hey, if things fall their way, it was get pass rush. And if Justin Jefferson steps up, I mean, the guy wasn't just spitballing there. Those were some legitimate takes.
So he probably thinks that Jefferson can be that guy in reality. What, 2021, maybe 22? Like, he's not going to step in and be that guy. But if he ultimately becomes better than Diggs,
or Willie,
let's talk about what he said about Dalvin Cook, gentlemen, because he made an MVP case, which is, as we discussed, incredibly rare. Running backs, well, heck, outside of quarterbacks, people do not win that award now. And he made an MVP case for Cook and then said, but he's completely stuck, which is, and he came in at the exact contract that we talked about on Purple Daily on Wednesday. Well, $9 or $10 million. Take it and be very happy if you are Dalvin Cook.
Fascinating sort of yin and yang here in that, Dalvin Cook is projected to be one of the best non-quarterbacks in the NFL, right? I mean, he's on a list of 3 or 4 running backs, and there's probably 3 or 4 wide receivers you would put on the list of like who are going to be the most productive offensive players that aren't quarterbacks. And yet, because of position and age and salary cap, it just doesn't make sense to pay those guys a lot of money. And he used the phrase opportunity cost. If you're weighing Dalvin Cook at X amount of dollars versus Alex Madison at X amount of dollars, right, or another guy that you could draft and put him on a rookie contract. Remember, the Vikings found Dalvin Cook in the 2nd round. Like that's the goal was find a really good running back, a value play, 2nd round, 3rd round, whatever it may be, and have that guy making $1 million instead of 10 or 15 or the $14 million that Adrian Peterson made before they said goodbye to him. And the opportunity cost is if you pay Dalvin Cook, let's say $9 million more than you would pay another drafted running back or an Alex Madison, right, what could you have gotten with the extra $9 or $10 million? And is the gap between those 2 running backs wide enough?
We should do a show at some point where we just go through every position and rank how you would pay it. So strip away the players, forget the players. Quarterback obviously is 1, 2, and 3. I get that. But after that, if we went through and did a ranking of positions and who you would pay maximum dollars to, Dalvin Cook plays a position that, unfortunately for him, has to be near last. It has to be. Defensive ends, incredibly valuable.
Safeties probably are low on that list too, and the Vikings are paying.
But interior D-line, O-line now becoming valuable.
Yep.
If you think about how this game is evolving and changing, and positions, guards, because it used to be, it's a guard, who cares, right? That's not true now. Same thing with nose tackle, 3 techniques.
Yeah.
A little football for you there.
Wow, look at you.
More valuable than ever.
Going for it all right
football. It's just interesting that a guy that knows the game as well as Daniel Jeremiah knows the sport would come on the show, basically say Dalvin Cook is incredibly valuable, and then turn around and probably accurately say, but he's completely stuck contractually.
Yeah. It is an interesting 2 or 3 months here for the Vikings and Dalvin Cook. We appreciate Daniel Jeremiah joining us here on Purple Daily, and we appreciate all of you for hanging out with us as well. We'll see you next time.
You think you like football? Trent Dilfer doesn't just really like football. He loves football.
Carlos Hyde, little penetration, boom, and then the spin move. We've seen power. We've seen acceleration by Carlos Hyde. Welcome, NFL, to Carlos Hyde, the bell cow back for the San Francisco 49ers.